Hi friends, welcome back. Today we are going to solve LeetCode problem 718, maximum length of repeated subarray. So before we start looking into the problem description and some examples and solution for this problem, I just want to mention that my channel is dedicated to help people who are preparing for coding interviews and telephonic interviews and Java interviews. On my channel, there are over 200 solved examples coding interview questions which were previously asked by big tech companies like Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, Google, Yahoo, and many other big companies. And those problems were handpicked to cover the varieties such as dynamic programming, graph problems, binary search tree related problems, binary search related coding interview questions, string linked list related coding interview questions, as well as DFS, BFS matrix related interview coding problems. So if you are preparing for coding interviews or Java interviews, please subscribe to this channel now. This channel can definitely be helpful for you in your job and interview preparation. So please subscribe it. So now let's look into the problem statement. Given two integer arrays nums1 and nums2, return maximum length of subarray that appears in both arrays. So they have given us two examples here. So the second example is very straightforward. You can see that all these zeros and here also all these zeros, right? So all zeros like these 5 zeros are common in both subarrays, both arrays. So we have to return 5 here. And in the first one, this 1 2 sorry, this 3 2 1 is common in both arrays, right? Here also 3 2 1, here also 3 2 1. So we have to return the length 3 here, right? So this problem, you can imagine it, it's very similar to another problem called as if we are given two strings, we have to find out the longest substring which is common in two strings, right? So this is similar to that problem, and these kind of problems we can easily solve it using dynamic programming technique, right? So let's look into this problem here. So we have been given like let me just pick a color here. So we have been given nums1 and nums2 array. So we will create this dp array, right? So we will create this kind of a dp array here that I have created for you. So this one is our nums2, right? So this one is our nums2. As you can see it, 32147. So 32147 and 12321 12321. So this is our nums1 array, right? Nums1 array, nums1. So so as in a dp array, we will first map, like we will add one additional row here of which constitutes all zeros, right? An additional column here which constitute all zeros. I will explain you during our like solution explanation why we added this extra row and extra column, right? So let's just before that, let's just keep continuing our discussion. So now we have just like mapped this nums to array. So this is like 32147, right? So 32147, and on these rows are mapped with nums1 array, right? 1 2 3 2 1 1 2 3 2 1, right? So let's go one by one in the each row, right? And we will try to find out if that number is common in both arrays, right? So let's just say if we are looking at 1, right? So 1 is common here also, right? So we will put 1, and when we are putting 1, what we do is whenever we find a common number, we will go diagonally in this direction, right? And we add 1 into this number basically, right? That is why we have added one additional row and additional column, correct? So now it is 0, so we will add 0 plus 1, it becomes 1, right? Similarly, when we go and look for 2, so 2 is common here, right? Here. So how this one we got it from this 0 plus 1, we got this one, right? Similarly for 3, we will get 3 is common here, so we will get 1 here, and we will how we got this one, 0 plus 1, right? This 0. So we go I minus 1 j minus 1, right? If this is ijth element, this is I minus 1 j minus 1, right? Now when we are looking at these two, right, we find this element which is common, right, in both places, right? Here also 2, here also 2, right? So we will have to go and we have to add 1 into this one, right? So we have to add 1 into this one to get this 2 basically, right? So this is how we got this 2. And when we are looking at this one, we will go here and this one we find common here. So how we got this 3? Because we will go diagonally in this element and we will add 1 to this element, right? Now 2 plus 1 becomes 3, and when we are updating these values we will keep track of the maximum that we have seen, right? So the maximum we have seen is 3, so we will return that 3 as our answer, right? As you can see it here. So this is how we got the answer using the dynamic programming. So first we will create a DP array and we will gradually go through each rows and we will populate this DP array like this, and we will keep track of the maximum length that we found, right? And you can visually also see in this that we are finding this element as common, right? So if you see this 1 2 3, right? So 1 2 3 means these elements basically, right? 1 2 3 means these elements, this 1 2 and 3. If you map it, these are these 3 2 1, right? So that is how we will know that 3 2 1 is common to both, right? 3 2 1 here and 3 2 1 here basically, right? So if you look and into the rows, you will get 3 2 1 here. So let's look into the, as I just mentioned you, this problem is very similar to longest common substring. So we will be given two strings and we have to find out longest common substring, right? That is also very important problem from coding interview perspective, and these problems are asked many times in Amazon, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Google in their coding interviews, right? So it's important to understand these problems and practice these problems. So now I think you are clear about the approach how we are going to solve this problem. So let's quickly go through the implementation part now. So this find length is given to us, this function nums1 and nums2 array is given to us. So this is the place where I created a DP array here, right? And this one is a row is nums1 length plus 1 and columns are nums2 length plus 1. As you say plus 1, why? Because we are creating one additional column with all zeros, right? And I explained you why we created this, right? Because for example, if we want to look at this, then we have to go diagonally, right? So that's why we need this additional column and additional row, right? So after that we just created one variable called as max length and assigned it to 0, right? It is initialized to 0. Here we are going to loop through the DP array now, right? I is equal to 1, j is equal to 1, right? Because this one we want to start looking from 1 position basically, right? Because we added additional row and additional columns, so we will not start with 0 0, we will start with 1 location, right? Because of that. So now here we will check if nums1 nums1 of I minus 1 and nums2 of j minus 1, if they are not matching with each other, right? Then our DP array will just point 0, right? For example, 1 and 3 doesn't match, so it's 0. 1 and 2 doesn't match, so it's 0. Now 1 and 1 matches, right? 1 and 1 matches. So what happens in this case? Else part, right? Else we will say dp ij is equal to dp of I minus 1 j minus 1 plus 1, right? So as I said, we will go diagonally in this element, which is this element, right? And we add 1 to this element, and logically it makes sense why we add it, because so far, for example, until this point we already know that when it is 1, this one element is already common in both subarrays, right? So when we are looking into the next element like this, then we should add 1 into this, right? Because length will become 2 now, because 1 we know that 1 is common. For example, 3 is common, now 2 is also becoming common basically, right? So it's 1 plus 1. That is the reason why we add 1 plus 1 in a diagonally way, right? Because of this reason, because we know until this diagonal element there is already one element which is common now, right? And we are adding one more column element to that common after that element, right? So it becomes 1 plus 1, so it is 2, right? So that's what we are doing here, as I explained you, and we will always keep track of whatever the maximum length we have seen so far, right? DP of ij and max length we will do math of max, right? And we will keep track of the maximum length. So here in our example we will get 3 as our answer. So let's go through it and go through this example that's given to us here, right? So let's run this example. So we should get 3 here as the answer. So as you can see, 3 we got the answer, right? Because this 3 2 1 here also 3 2 1, right? So let's just modify this test case a little bit. So now instead of 3 2 1, if I say, like, let's say we have only 3 2, and if I make this 10 and if I make this 20, right, then only 3 2 is common, as you can see now, right? So we should get 2 as our answer here. So let's just run this one. So as we said, it is 2 as the answer, right? Because 3 2 only now common, right? So that's why 3 2 is only common. So if only if now we remove this 2 also, let's say, or we make the 2 as 20 here, then only one element is common here, right? Either 3 or this 2, right? So it should be 1 in this case, because there is only one subarray element which is common. So we are getting correct answer. So let's just run through this another test case as well, which is 0 0. So we'll take the both examples at one time and we'll just run through it. So we should get, now the second one we should get 5. First one we already saw it, so second is 5. So we can submit our solution because we are getting correct answers. So basically, so our solution got accepted by LeetCode. It is 50% faster than other solutions and 64% faster on the memory usage, which is a decent performance. So we use the concept of uh, similar problem that we had seen in other places, right? Like finding the maximum length of common substring when two strings are given to us, right? So similarly, we will use the DP approach here to find maximum length of repeated subarray. So we will just create one DP array. So we'll just summarize our solution. So we created a DP array, right? And we added one extra column and extra row with all filled with zeros, right? That's why we are adding nums1 plus length plus 1 and nums2 length plus 1 here. We created one variable max length to capture the maximum length. We will see whenever we find any elements which are matching, then we will just go diagonally and we will add 1 to that, right? So that is our approach of this dynamic solve this problem using dynamic programming, and I explain you why we go diagonally, right? So let me just explain you that one concept one more time so you will know, and we can conclude this session. So for example, let's say 3 is common here, right? So basically this part we already know that one element is common until this part, right? So when we are looking this part basically now, right? So when we have 2 and 2 common, means we want to capture this element, then it makes sense that it is one more than this one, right? So one we know that common, one is common, so we are adding one more to this one, so that's why we go diagonally, right? So that is the main concept to understand to solve this problem. So this is how we will gradually populate all the DP array, and at the end we will return the maximum length. So if you haven't already checked my playlist on my channel, there is a separate playlist dedicated to LeetCode and LeetCode solutions. So it has over 200 solved examples from coding interview questions asked by big tech companies like Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, Google, Yahoo, and many other big tech companies. And those were handpicked problems to cover important varieties of coding interviews such as dynamic programming, graph problems, binary search tree problems, binary search related coding interview questions, linked list problems, string related coding interview questions, as well as DFS, BFS matrix problems, priority queue and optimization problems as well. If you are simply preparing for initial rounds of Java interviews or telephonic Java interviews, then there is another playlist called as Java interview. You can check it out. It has frequently asked coding interview questions, and how to answer those questions is also explained there. If you like this video, if you like the style of explanation along with examples, then please hit like and subscribe it. Your subscription is really important to us, because this is the way the video can reach to more people who are preparing for coding interview questions and Java interview questions. They will also understand and learn from this video how to approach this problem, and they will also get help during their coding interviews. So please hit subscribe the channel, and share. If you like this video, please share with your friends and colleagues, and please subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching this video.